And here's your prescription.
I know just the pharmacy to get this filled.
Who are you?
A pharmacy benefit manager. A middleman your insurer uses to decide which medicines you can get, what you pay, and sometimes even which pharmacy you should go to.
Why can't I go to a pharmacy in my neighborhood?
Because I make more money when you go to a pharmacy I own.
No one should stand between you and your medicine. Visit phrma.org/middleman to learn more. Paid for by Pharma.
We're coming, and we ain't backing down.
We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror.
Everybody just do your job! You understand that?
Hey, will you shut up?
I'm bitterly disappointed with the officiating today.
Guys being dudes.
And they run through our like through a tin horn, man.
O'Connell, here comes a Hawkeye blitz. O'Connell throws to the end zone. He's got a man out there. It's caught. It's a touchdown. David Bell with another reception, and the Boilermakers are blowing it open early in the fourth quarter.
That's Tim Newton on the Purdue Radio Network from Learfield. You could have listened live to that game and many, many others if you wanted on the Varsity Network app, which carries tons of game broadcasts as they happen. Also recordings, also coach shows and other stuff during the week. Check it out. It's brought to you by some of the same people who help us make this podcast. Richard Johnson, the clock has struck midnight for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Thank you, Varsity. Thank you, Lee. 30 minutes on the clock. I got a shitty NFL team to watch playing across the pond. Let's start the clock in 3, 2, 1. Purdue 24, Iowa 7. Alex, this should have been worse, to be honest with you. I mean, Purdue was shit in the red zone on offense. Honestly, they were shit in the red zone on defense because they probably should have had a pick six that a defender dropped.
Well, Iowa was in the red zone 5 times and scored 7 points, so I don't know if it's totally fair to say they were shit on defense in the red zone. But
I kid. You got to take the opportunities when they come, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I would agree. Perversely, Iowa's best cornerback, Riley Moss, was missing, and as a result, they got repeatedly mossed, like in the Randy Moss way, by David Bell. And you could perhaps say, well, if Iowa's best cornerback were there, maybe the David Bell thing wouldn't have happened. But
I don't know, because
he is every year.
They traveled the corner. It's Iowa's other corner, the corner on the other side. And they traveled him on both sides of the formation when Bell was on either side of the formation. From what I checked, the long crossing route that he had, I mean, that's just a crossing route. Like Purdue, I think Purdue came into this game and was like, hey, we're faster than these guys. We're just going to beat them to the edge, beat them to the corner repeatedly. They cannot run with us. And then in the passing, they were rotating quarterbacks, yada, yada, yada. In the vertical passing game, they did pick up where Penn State left off and attacked them in the middle of the field, I thought, pretty effectively when they went down the field. But, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy what happens when you don't get – it's crazy what happens when you don't get 3 takeaways in a game. And
it can be hard.
And when the team, on the other hand, does. I know that – like, Petras had 4 picks. I'm not really counting the win at the very end of the game, so let's, for all intents and purposes, say Iowa had 3 thrown interceptions in this game.
David Bell has played Iowa 3 times in his college career. 50 targets, 37 catches, 558 yards, 5 touchdowns, no drops by my count, 240 of those yards in this game on Saturday, including that TD that you just heard. Aiden O'Connell, I guess just blacked out. Had maybe the best quarterback game in the country this week, certainly the best of his career in Kinnick against this defense. College football can be a magical sport sometimes, Richard.
This has the and I think I brought this up when we talked about Iowa on the midweek show. This has an opportunity to break bad for Iowa very quickly. They have a bye week and then they play Wisconsin. And I think everybody understands the tenor of that game. And I think everybody understands the amount of points that I think we're going to see in that game. This has the opportunity to break bad for Iowa.
Something we're monitoring before we move on. Purdue's 4-2. There was some good, weird Jeff Brom in this game. They were running speed options on 3rd and long and getting them, blocking them well.
That was one of the ways that they got to the edge and got to the corner.
So I don't know. Have we perhaps been too dismissive of Jeff Brom? I'm not there yet. This is a weird year. It doesn't have to mean anything in one game, but it could. Michigan State 20, Indiana 15. Michigan State reminding people that it's still Michigan State. Can't be too pretty all the time.
Of course not. course not.
Peyton Thorne had a cool catch. He's the quarterback.
They are fun. This is a nice story. I am not quite sure that this is going to hold up against some of what they have to come. But yeah, this is fun. I mean, Indiana is not a good football team right now.
No, things have gone bad there. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, Indiana's not very good.
Indiana held
Connor.
Michigan State to negative 20 expected points added.
Ooh.
We use that stat a lot on the show. This is on offense, negative 20. That's the stat that we like to go to that kind of takes into account game state, down distance, time, etc., and shows how every play makes it more or less likely that you're going to score on that drive and how much you're going to score. Negative 20 is not typically a winning amount on offense. You can probably deduce that, but it worked for Michigan State because Indiana can't score. Minnesota 30, Nebraska 23. Richard, what do we say about the games and what you have to do with them at some point?
I mean, so this is actually a sneaky one-score game. This actually wasn't really a one-score game. Nebraska was actually down by 2 touchdowns at the end here, and they had a nice little drive at the end.
On the other hand, you're right. They were down the whole game, and they were at arm's length. I think they won yards per play in this game.
Good God.
You know, like they were more efficient when they had the ball, and I think they won the turnover margin by a turnover. It just doesn't all really compute. But as you say, Richard, at some point you have to win, and they don't win. And I do think that this basically dispenses with any possibility of Nebraska sneaking into a bowl eligibility spot.
Yeah, I was going to say we're talking about no bowl here, right?
We are. Yeah, I think we are pretty clearly talking about that. If you look at what's left on the slate, they're 3-5, and they still have their Iowa game. I think they still have Ohio State. They still have at Wisconsin, which is probably not going to go well for them. And their other game is Purdue, which looks a whole lot harder today than it did yesterday. Wisconsin, speaking of, 20, Army 14.
This game started after Oklahoma TCU kicked off and finished before Oklahoma TCU ended. This game had a 28-minute first quarter. Hey, this is the sport as it's meant to be played.
Yeah. Also, the Army option, it kind of worked. They ran for 3.6 per carry. That's 2 more than what Wisconsin had been giving up.
Well, Alex,
on average.
You know what happens when these service academies get in games against each other.
You do. Honestly, it was really, really cool to see the troops against the troops in this game. I mean, absolutely it was.
Noted military base Camp Randall.
And Wisconsin did it Army did it without Christian Anderson, who we had Prize Picks plays on this week. He was not active for this game, and yet they moved the ball. I mean, they only scored 14 points because it's Army, it's Wisconsin, but you get the idea.
Army, I will say, Army had a big long Army pass where they dive bomb you over the top, military terminology, at the end when they were down 20-6 or 20-7 or whatever. And I think that was where they got the 14 from.
Delightful. Go Army. Georgia 30, Kentucky 13, and the over, which I had, misses because of 2 missed PATs.
That's
no
tough.
Justice in this world.
And the block field goal. And the block field goal. Kentucky kind of did better than most teams do against Georgia. I mean, they scored 7 before garbage time. Okay. It was neat.
They had 3.5 yards per play, which is better than the average against Georgia.
I will say, Kentucky had a drive against Georgia, which, again, that deserves plaudits.
Yeah, what was that? 10, 15 plays?
Yeah, I think it was 13 plays, 70 some odd yards.
And it ended with a schemed up Liam Cohen called a nice play action pass that had a tight end with nobody near.
So the funny thing there is, well, first of all, there was initially a turnover on the drive that got overturned by replay, which almost cut the drive short. And then Kentucky started getting the ball out really quick, and I think they knew, as everybody did, that we don't want any parts of Georgia's defensive line. Georgia has a very hard penetrating front. Let's get the ball out quickly. Let's get to the edge. Let's do that. The funny thing is, it's Georgia saw that and said, "Okay, you're done." Other than that, Kentucky had 5 3-and-outs and a 4-and-out, I believe, in this game, if I counted correctly. They had a screen there that almost scored as well, did Kentucky, right there. And then the funny thing is, later in the game, they ran it again, and Kobe Dean saw what was happening and screams through 3 blockers to make the tackle. Hey, they are what they are.
Yeah. Richard, I want to be the first to say it on this podcast. I think Georgia has one of the better defenses in college football this year.
It's
Alabama
bold take.
49.
Bold take.
Mississippi State 9. Yeah, thank you. It is. Bama by 40. The Will Rogers prize picks total, which we discussed, was 299.5 passing yards when we picked it. It then went down, but we all took the under, and we felt extremely confident about it. Richard?
That's
300 on the dot.
On the nose. Do you know how many times I refreshed the box score trying to see when a stat correction was going to come? I may have to consult with the league office when I go down to Charlotte tonight.
Yeah, not cool.
Unbelievable.
Bama got 7 sacks in this game, and I think the move here is to pressure the SEC to make sacks count against QB passing yards. That would take us certainly to the under. Giving up 7 sacks when you are Mississippi State and you throw the ball that quickly is a sign that you are just a teensy bit overmatched, I think.
Yeah, there was a second in this game where you were like, maybe. And then I think Alabama scored on the first play in the third quarter, and you were like, okay, well, we're done here.
Pretty grim scene for the Mississippi State offense. Ole Miss 34, Tennessee 26.
Boy. What is there to say that hasn't been said at this point about what happened at the end of that game? Yeah. For 59 minutes, this was a normally wacky, weird game, and then quite literally all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, do we just want to skip the discourse and just kind of say, yeah, please don't throw things on the field. Also, nobody died. Please don't throw things on the field.
Yeah.
Also, nobody died. We're just going to go back and forth for 3 days. Tennessee fans will act like they've been persecuted. Yeah. Certain members of the national media will act like this was the worst thing that's ever happened in a stadium. It'll all be kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
Right. It's like don't throw shit. Okay. Cool. Don't throw shit. Also, nobody died. I think we can move forward.
I think everybody here is going to be okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes, it was bad. Yes, it was embarrassing for Tennessee. I don't think they care. I don't think the people who were throwing the mustard care. Auburn
or
38.
The vape pens plural, yes. By the way. Shout out to Cole Kublik. The vape pens plural. It's just
multiple. I mean, hey, maybe this was kind of like an anti-tobacco, anti-smoking kind of thing that was going on. Maybe it was a protest movement. Who's to say? Thank you, Tennessee fans. Auburn 38, Arkansas 23. Very un-Auburn-like. Very un-Auburn-like. They just kept this thing on the tracks. I DM'd friend of the program, Justin Ferguson, and I was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this just a very normal, weird, or weird in that it was not weird Auburn against Arkansas game? And Auburn just played fine. Brian Harsin is making them very boring.
Yeah, our pigs may be coming back down to earth here. 3 losses in a row in very different circumstances for each one.
Yeah, they are in a difficult way at this point in time. Speaking of being in a difficult way, Richard, LSU 49, Florida 42, and Anthony Richardson saying after the game that, quote, time will tell, and he's a Gator, quote, for now, with regards to whether or not he will transfer. Take it away.
That really was as pathetic a defensive performance as I have seen from the University of Florida it's different than last year where you're calling 2 really weird corner cat blitzes and LSU is throwing the ball all over the place and all. And we've talked about it on the show. There's a difference between a team coming in and throwing all over you and a team running you the fuck over which is what LSU did in this game multiple times. Pro Football Focus's Anthony Tresh tweeted at me after the game, actually. LSU was averaging 3 counter plays per game coming into this game. They ran counter 14 times on Saturday at 14.7 per pop. So, yes, Florida should not have expected a particularly heavy dose of counter coming into the game, but obviously, as they are continuing to run it more and more, you have got to adjust. I think Florida... So, okay, let's talk about the counters in themselves. Schematic innovation, they ran either GY or GT counter at Florida's fucking face the entire game. The one thing, the way they sort of dressed it up, which our buddy Seth Galena has been pining for, is they used the tight end. They put a tight end on the play side of the formation. So if the run goes to the right, the tight end would line up on the right. They would pull the left guard and left tackle, pull him around, and there would be something there. Florida's plan against the counter was basically, let's try to keep it in the box. You can either spill counter, send it outside, or box counter, get it in the box. Florida tried to put it in the box. The edges were soft. The defensive line got no push, no knockback, nothing to throw the pullers off of their track. Nobody could fill. Nobody could fit at the second level of Florida's defense. Florida was soft, and they got ran the fuck over all day. The drive that LSU iced the game on, there was only one pass, and it was the 4th down play on the goal line that they scored. It was just soft football.
It was a nice little play.
It was a nice little play. There's a physical element to the game that Florida wasn't ready for. At some point in time, you can draw the ball plays all you want, but you got to strap it up and go, man. And they couldn't. Couldn't all day.
Richard, are we going to be making any podcast HR decisions as it relates to one Daniel Mullen?
Check in Wednesday, but I'll consult with the HR department here, the SED coaches HR department. But if I'm Georgia and I got 2 weeks, Bubba, bet your ass what they're running in Jacksonville.
I have a guess. Texas A&M 35, Mizzou 14. Richard, Mizzou defensively is
awful. As bad as Florida was yesterday.
Worse.
Woo.
Worse. Yeah, Mizzou has I think been a nice get right game for some teams. A&M has had trouble running the ball this year, which is not really what you want when you have one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in college football, and another great one. Isaiah Spiller's not the only one. Devin A-Chain is also excellent. They both went well over 100 yards in this game. It was A&M's best yards per carry day. It was about 7 of the season. Mizzou is like 129th or 130th in rush defense on a per carry basis. Not much else to say other than you can only destroy what's in front of you. And I think Mizzou is a very juicy target right now.
Yeah.
Very juicy target.
Yeah, I think so. Pitt 28, Virginia Tech 7. Alex, do you have a mea culpa on one Patrick Narduzzi?
No, but let's see what they do against Clemson. I might be there. I'm moving in that direction. It has been pointed out to me that it's not really a fun way to consume college football if your team is having one of its best years in a while and you don't enjoy it because you're worried that the coach won't get fired. That's a fair point. I think I should have a sunnier outlook on life. There's still plenty of time for this to go awry. I think many Pitt fans are worried that will happen. This is the moment to beat Clemson. I mean, this is it. It's not going to get any easier than to beat them at home when you have this offense and Clemson has that offense. So let's see. Also, Richard, your guy Kalijah Cansey, one of your favorite players in college football, abusive to Virginia Tech in this game. Abusive.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech could not handle him or Pitt in general.
Yeah, so Pitt basically got up like 21-0 here. And
28, yeah.
28-0. Okay, 28-0.
Then they just sat on it, yeah, they just sat on it. I mean, they didn't score anything from like 25 minutes left in the game, but didn't need to. Virginia Tech has to fire Justin Fuente. I think this is fairly obvious. We don't have to spend a lot of time belaboring the point. NC State 33, Boston College 7. NC State, worth taking seriously.
Yeah.
Rumors of Boston. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, they have one of the more destructive offensive linemen in the year in the conference, I should say, in Ike Ekwonu, maybe in the country. Yeah, I mean, they just competently ran the fuck over Boston College, who is not awful, as we know.
No. Well, not awful, although it is starting to become clear that rumors of their offensive improvement may have been Mizzou influenced rather than Boston.
Jakovich still out?
I think Djokovic did not play in this game. Okay. This was one that I box scored, to be fully transparent. We don't watch every single game. I think that Dennis Grossel played in this game for Boston College. Okay. Someone is yelling in their car right now if Djokovic was back, but I don't believe he was. North Carolina 45, Miami 42. Richard, congrats to you as a member of the national media on securing the win for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, Alex, I thought we fought hard. It's been an interesting couple weeks for us, as media members with regards to Carolina. But we fought hard yesterday, and we got the win at home. And at the end of the day, you want to win in front of the home fans. There was Mac Brown. So obviously, Manny Diaz is a former Mac Brown assistant. There was the most uncomfortable handshake, post-game handshake I think I've ever seen. A Mac Brown and Manny Diaz meeting at the field at midfield, after the game. It was just deeply hilarious. Like, Manny Diaz absolutely does not want to do that. Doesn't want to be there. And Mac Brown is like doing the glad handing, not only the handshake, Alex, but like where you take your offhand and you put it on up the arm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The guy that you're shaking. Oh man, that was rough.
He gripped him. Oh
yeah,
no.
He did.
That's difficult. Clemson 17, Syracuse 14. Not a lot. At this point, there's not a lot more to say about Clemson. This just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it is very weird to me that DJ just can't run, is not effective running. I don't know. They got problems.
They do have problems for sure. Syracuse, though, great teams cover every single week. Virginia 48. Duke 0. Virginia's defense could not stop a runny nose most weeks, but can shut out Duke. Cut.
Baylor 38, BYU 24. So is that BYU thing done or what?
Might be done, but I also think Baylor is just good.
Yeah.
Gary Bohannon may be the best quarterback in the Big 12 conference.
Relax.
Please, Richard, please have some respect for Gary Bohannon. He is just solid, solid every week that Baylor plays. He did get worked over, as did that entire team in Stillwater, 3 weeks ago or so. But I think there's a pretty strong case to be made that he has been the most solid guy. He's thrown, I think, 1 interception this year, and he's clicking at over 9 yards per throw this year with 1 pick. It's pretty useful. That will hunt. He has the lowest interception rate by far in the Big 12.
After Oklahoma State loses to Bedlam, which, okay, I know that every podcast is somebody's first. If you're new here, you're new to the show, this is not a podcast that acknowledges that Oklahoma State will ever beat Oklahoma. So just...
No, we don't acknowledge that.
We don't do that. That's not what we do here. So after Oklahoma State loses in Bedlam, Baylor may really wish they had a tiebreaker in the Big 12. Really wish they had a tiebreaker.
Yes. Oklahoma State 32, Texas 24. Richard, I want to talk about Texas's defense, which is bad.
Yes, quite.
There were a few plays in the fourth quarter of this game when Texas was still winning by 2, where it was a 3-play stretch that led to the go-ahead field goal for Oklahoma State before they added on to that after that. First play was a 17-yard gain on a reverse, number 46 for Texas. That's Ray Thornton, grad transfer from LSU. Sets the right edge. Just stops doing that when the play goes away from him, starts jogging. Ball goes the other way. Boom. Big game. Second play, it's another reverse principle, basically. It's a pass back to Spencer Sanders, which he drops the ball. If he doesn't drop the ball, see ya. It's 5 blockers on 2. This is very, very bad for Texas. So Texas is great, you got away with something. Third play, 46 again, Thornton just does not set the edge. So that's 3 plays. You're seeing guys getting pushed around. You're seeing them napping on misdirection. You're seeing, I don't know, bad fitting, bad edge setting.
No, they just have bad eyes. They have terrible eyes. They've had bad eyes against Arkansas, had bad eyes against Oklahoma, had bad eyes on Saturday against Oklahoma State. It just is what it is. Sark talked about it at the end of the Oklahoma game, or after the Oklahoma game. They are just a bunch of guys running around out there. They just are. And I think that Sark, obviously, they have a ways to go on that side, on both sides of the ball. I don't think the offense is perfect. Obviously, they have arguably the best player in college football right now on offense in Bijan Robinson. He is going to continue to do what he does. But second half collapse from Texas, they are not, this step forward that I think some of us may have thought earlier in the season. They are the Texas that is game against Oklahoma, which they were in the worst depths of the Tom Herman era. And they're going to be more or less up and down against the rest of the conference.
It seems to be the case. Also, Oklahoma State, to give them their flowers, they are a really strong defensive program at this point. It's been a nice little reinvention. No, it's not going to get them very far against the team that they ultimately want to be, but we talk about it. We talked about it in the context of Iowa and Kentucky last week, and I guess they both lost this week. Hey, give it to them. They're playing well. They are setting themselves up to lose to Oklahoma twice this season rather than just once, which could be exciting. Oklahoma 52, TCU 31. TCU's transformation into a team that can't play defense at all, complete. They allowed 9 yards per play.
Hey, Oklahoma's got it figured out with Caleb Williams. Lincoln was in his bag, drawing up the run plays. It was actually pretty cool to see on Saturday night. Washington State 34, Stanford 31. Alex has to apologize for saying Tanner McKee may be the best Stanford quarterback since Andrew Luck. The Nick Rolovich thing, we're 3 days away from this being done.
Closing
I think
in. Could be any minute, any day. I think Monday is the day that people are circling, but it's his fault. It's his fault. And it's sad too, because I think his players, at least a lot of them, really love him. Well, one way to stay their coach would be to do the obvious thing that 200 million people have done. But hey, you don't want to do it. You want to be a child about it? It's your prerogative.
Not just 200 million, 3 and change billion with a B.
It's pretty childish on his part. Can't imagine throwing my career away in the way that he seems poised to if it's time. UCLA 24, Washington 17. UCLA's offense, I'm not really sure how they only scored 24 points. They were over 6 yards per play. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone. They moved the ball. They got 45 yards per drive in this game, which is a lot. It wasn't a big turnover game. I don't really get it at all. I don't really get it.
Speaking of I don't get it, I went to bed, Arizona State was up 21-7-ish. I woke up, Arizona State lost the game to Utah 35-21. 28 unanswered points in the second half for Arizona State. Enough of that side of the league. I mean, Oregon's one thing, and Oregon playing with their food or whatever, that's one thing. But the South, someone's got to figure it out. Someone's got to be competent. Someone's got to be good. You think it may be Utah? After all of this, you think it may be Utah?
I mean, maybe, and I'm not super jazzed to be saying that, but yeah, it is possible that Utah is coming around. They were getting bullied by teams that should not bully them at the beginning of the year, and maybe they have fixed that, and maybe the offense has more upside than we thought. Maybe the Charlie Brewer exit wasn't actually that big a deal. It's one of the harder teams to figure out. Two teams that are not hard to figure out because they're both very bad. Colorado 34, Arizona 0. Shame on Arizona for this Jedfish thing. Shame on them. Their fans deserve better. One of the most uninspired hires ever, and they're the worst team quite possibly in the whole Power 5. I think we have to consider that.
Yeah. Oregon 24, Cal 17. This is Cal's, I believe, 5th one-score loss. Tough. I think Oregon fans on the other side of the coin, Oregon fans might be a little close to being over the whole shebang here.
What was Cal doing running 90 plays in a football game?
Hey, Stephen Godfrey asked for offense. They are trying.
There was a lot of offense, technically speaking, and there were a lot of plays.
Yes, in a literal sense of the term, there was quite a bit of offense in this game.
Just a stunning display, truly. Louisiana 41, App State 13. Rumors of Louisiana's decline appear to have been greatly exaggerated, including by me.
Yeah,
they hadn't been good. They had almost lost to Nichols, to Georgia Southern, to South Alabama, which we'll get to. They dominated this game. Just crushed them in every way.
The other side of the coin here, App State. I believe Coastal is coming to town. If not this week, then the next week.
Yep.
Strap it up. Strap it up, Mountaineers. South Alabama 41, Georgia Southern 14. Offensive coordinator Major Applewhite. How about it?
Offensive coordinator Major Applewhite for South Alabama. They are playing offense at a level that they have not in their 10 years or so as an FBS program. 8.4 yards per play in this game. I believe that is the most they have ever had as an FBS football team. Jake Bentley has been really, really good playing quarterback at a higher level than they are used to. Jake Bentley is at South Alabama now, if you have lost track. I think he went South Carolina, Utah, South Alabama. Do I have that right?
Yeah, yes.
They are giving up 6.3 yards per play. That is their best mark ever, too. Kane Womack, defense guy. I'm starting to wonder which former Indiana coordinator they should be calling to replace the retiring Tom Allen at some point soon. DeBoer at Fresno or Womack at South Alabama. I don't know.
Cincinnati 56, UCF 21. It wasn't this close. Wasn't that close. Good luck. Tulsa 32, USF 31. Your Bulls, Alex.
Yeah, I feel really bad for USF. It's not their world right now, and maybe we'll talk about them later, but they are just having a rough decade in every way, on and off the field. Not good. Speaking of rough, Memphis 35, Navy 17. Here's what you have to know about Navy. They threw 12 passes, as in 12 passes left the quarterback's hand.
Yeah,
the quarterback was sacked 4 times.
If we're getting double digits in the passes attempt column, you got to understand the way things are going for Navy on a given night.
You don't want that. They're throwing the ball too much, and they're getting sacked on at least a third of their dropbacks. More. San Diego State 19. San Jose State 13 in 2 overtimes. A 2 overtime game with 32 total points.
There's the timer. By the hair of their chins.
We will continue. We will play to the whistle.
Of course. Play through the whistle. Come on now. To the echo of the whistle, as one Bobby Bowden said. Excuse me. Or maybe it was Mickey Andrews. Yeah, anyway.
32 points in a 2 overtime game. San Diego State has no losses.
Okay. Yeah. A thing that everybody absolutely saw coming into this season.
Yeah. Brady Hoke's doing great. They are G5 Iowa, except I guess still undefeated, whereas Iowa is no longer. Air Force went to the Blue and beat Boise 24-17. Did you see this?
Boise, I don't know if it's a has problems type thing, but this ain't your older sister's Boise State.
No, I think that this is a down Boise State, and I don't know. We'll have to talk to the Year Zero committee about if we're allowing that for Andy Avalos. I don't know.
The hell we are.
A ruling. Yeah, I mean they're not that good, and the BYU game is a little bit devalued given how badly Baylor beat up on them. But who's to say? Nevada 34, Hawaii 17. Nevada is 5-1, and with this loss, Todd Graham narrowly falls behind Nick Rolovich in the Hawaii coach winning percentage leaderboard. Todd Graham is at 500.
Utah State 28, UNLV 24. UNLV has a turnover slot machine on the sideline. That's all I think we're going to say about that. UTSA 45, Rice 0.
Meet. Time to rank them. I'm hoping that they're ranked within a short time after the show comes out. Bad matchup for Rice in that UTSA is good at a lot of things and Rice is bad at countering those things. Sincere McCormick needed 13 carries to get to 117 yards. You get it. Marshall 49, North Texas 21. Seth Luttrell, it's been a good run. I think it's probably pretty close to over by how things are going.
Western Carolina 43, Old Dominion 20. Western Carolina's defense showed up. How about that?
Western Kentucky, Richard.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky.
I can't read. Kentucky. Leave it in, man.
Fine, we'll leave it in.
I had 4 hours of sleep last night.
He didn't mean it. Hilltoppers fans, he did not mean it. We just, we go fast. UTEP 19, Louisiana Tech 3. UTEP is bowl eligible. Incredible.
Yeah, they have a bye week this week. I think we'll come around to them next week before their upcoming game, where UTEP has a chance to go 7-1. Central Michigan 26, Toledo 23. The flip-flop nature of overtime is what it is, but fire them up, Chips.
Fire them up, Chips. And speaking of firing, I think Toledo ought to be looking into this with Jason Candle. This is the best recruiting team in the MAC. Always is. They're 3-4. Not acceptable. We have talked on the show before about how they have been declining regularly since basically Jason Candle's second year, which is about the time that the previous coach starts to wash out, and that was, of course, Matt Campbell. If things do not get better, I'm not sure why Toledo should not expect better. That's what I'll say there. Buffalo 27, Ohio 26. If this had happened one of the last 2 years, you would have thought, wow, what a great game. But it's not. It's 2021, so it's more like, damn, Ohio tried hard, and Buffalo is pretty grim. I think Lance Leipold took a lot with him when he left.
There was the longest and slowest touchdown, I think, in FBS history in this game. 99-yard touchdown by Ohio's quarterback. It was the longest run by a quarterback in FBS history. It was just so slow. I do not really understand how they did not catch that young man. Northern Illinois 34, Bowling Green 26. How about them Huskies?
I love them. They're 5-2. They are now 17 points away from 1-6. Love this team. They are a triple option team that doesn't run the option. 59 runs for 319 yards, 8 pass attempts for 38 yards. Outstanding stuff.
UConn 21, Yale 15. Underdog UConn pulls it out.
And victorious.
UConn a 3.5-point home underdog to an FCS team from the Ivy League. Needed just about everything at the end here to pull it out. Yale looked like they were coming for it to pull it out by the hair of their chinny chin chins. But as usual on this podcast, I believe we end on the UConn Huskies.
No, we don't. We don't. We are not ending on the UConn Huskies this week. You're forgetting a game, Richard.
Oh, I am. Yes, I am.
33-point underdog, ULM Warhawks 31, Liberty 28. Alternate headline, abuse of my liberties. Alternate headline, give me Terry Bowden or give me death. Ha 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 ha. Good job, Liberty. Congratulations to you.
Yeah. Liberty just does not have anything on offense outside of Malik Willis. And, really outside of Malik Willis running the ball. It's not what I expected.
Pretty grim. Richard Johnson. I'm Alex Kirshner. I guess I'll see you in the midweek.
Yeah, go Jags.